Hey guys, but the semifinals now done, and the final this week for Super Rugby Pacific. I thought, what better time than now to give you guys my updated prediction for the All Blacks for 2024. With Razor now in charge, he has to make some tough decisions, and with the All Blacks facing the likes of England and Fiji within the upcoming internationals, I thought, why not help the coaching staff and Razor with these selections and come up with my own All Black squad. So before we get into this, make sure to click the like button below, subscribe to our channel, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts on my squad prediction as well as what your All Black squad would look like. Let me know in the comment section below. But yeah, in terms of the way we'll go about this, we'll do it for a tier list as normal. We'll go over the props, the hookers, the locks, the loose forwards, the scrum halves, the fly halves, the centers, and of course the wingers slash fullbacks. So there's a lot of players to choose from, but I can only choose 32 in total. So I got to trim down the squad by a lot, but yeah, pretty excited to do this. Starting off with the props, there's a lot of players to go by. You know, there's Ethan de Groot, there's Opportunal Fassi, there's George Bauer, there's Fusatia, there's Tyrell Lomax, Tamati Williams, Fletcher Newell, and Tossie there. So, yes, there's some players to choose from. But in terms of the first one, I got to go with Ethan de Groot. He's a consistent player and has been consistent for the All Blacks during his time. And, you know, he was part of that World Cup squad and even started in that final as well against the Box. So, yeah, he's a big player for New Zealand rugby. And, again, he's always going to be – I think he's going to be in the All Black squad for a while. So, yeah, he gets into my team. In terms of the next loose head, I think I got to go with the likes of Opportunal Fassi. He's had an incredible season for the Blues. He's been up there actually as one of the best players, I'd say, from a prop standpoint, and he's scored a lot of tries actually to his name as well. So yeah, I've been really impressed by him. In terms of the other props here, I mean George Bauer, I don't think he's done enough to kind of make it into the to get a call back again. I mean, he's had a consistent season for the Crusaders. Not going to deny that, but just I don't think he's as good as the other players that I can see here. I mean, Fusatia, it's pretty early for him to kind of be considered. Again, he's really only in there because of Shevnir Mia's injury, of course, and I just feel like, you know, he deserves a bit of recognition for Fusatia for what he's done for the Blues, but I just don't think he's done enough really to kind of make this All Blacks team. Maybe he gets into the XV team, to be fair. But in terms of the other players, there's Tyrell Lomax, Tamati Williams, Fletcher Newell, and Tossie. And out of them four, I think you're gonna go with Tyrell Lomax. I think he has been the best, probably tight head, I'd say, out of all the New Zealand props this year. He's had a pretty good season for the Hurricanes. Again, he came back from injury in time to play in those playoffs, which was pretty big for the Hurricanes. But of course, they did unfortunately not make it to the finals. So maybe it wasn't as much of a help as you would like. But again, he's still an impressive player. He's had an impressive season for the Hurricanes, and he definitely gets it because his scrummaging is like really good. So he definitely gets into this side. In terms of the other players, I mean, you got to go to Matty Williams. I mean, this guy is just he's incredible. Like, he's so young for his age, and just to the level he's got to already, like, it's gonna be crazy to think like how good he is in his prime. Like, he's so good already. And again, he's versatile, similar towards Offa. He played both the loose head and tight head. And yeah, man, he's just a heck of a player to watch, man. Heck of a player. So he definitely gets in. In terms of the final prop, I mean, I'm kind of deciding between. I mean, I don't think Tossie can be in this conversation. He's been solid for the Hurricanes this year, but just not as good as I think Fletcher Newell or George Bauer. And I think it's really between them two for the final spot. And if I had to choose one of them two, I think I would go with Fletcher Newell here, just because for one, I just think he's the better scrummager, and two, he's been pretty good for the Crusaders this year when needed. So yeah, I'm gonna go with him. And again, he's been part of the All Blacks environment before, so he'll have no problem adjusting. So yeah, that's the 5 props I've selected. In terms of hookers, again, there's the likes of Mustafa Moore, there's Cody Taylor, there's Ricky Riccatelli, there's Kurt Eklund, and George Bell. So there's 5 hookers there to choose from. Again, no Samisoni Takaho, as it did get recently announced that he will not be available for selection as he has Achilles injury. So it looks like he'll be out for between 6 to 9 months, which is a bit unfortunate for him. But yeah, because he was having a good season. He was really having a good season. And I would have picked him. But again, because he's not available for selection, I've got to think about others. And in this case, the first one I'm going to go with is Cody Taylor. I think he's had a really good season. He's had a good season for the Crusaders because he's played not a lot of games because, of course, he was under sabbatical for the majority of the year in terms of Super B. But again, he joined the Crusaders late on to the season. I think he played like what 4 or 5 games, but still, in every game he played, he was awesome for them. Like he really just made a difference, and you can still tell he's a world class hooker. So on his day, you got to pick him, and yeah, that's why he's definitely in my side here. In terms of the other hookers, I mean, there's Asaf Moore, who I think has been probably the best hooker, I'd say, throughout the competition for this year. And he's just been really good for the Hurricanes. I mean, a lot of their players have been awesome, and he's definitely one of them. He's been able to come up clutch at times, scoring a few tries. Also, he's also getting a few tries in there, and his just pace is like it's unbelievable for hookers. So yeah, you got to go with him there at the number as the second hooker, and then as the third one. I mean, it's interesting here because you can choose one of the Blues boys, Riccatelli and Kurt Eklund, but then there's also George Bell there, who's had a good season for the Crusaders in terms of playing most of the games until Cody Taylor actually came into the side. So yeah, but the question is, do you want to bring someone who do you want to bring in youth or experience in terms of this third position? Because the way I see it is that Samasoni will probably take up that spot later down the line, and so it's one of those questions where do you give it to someone who's experienced now and is just reliable and get the job done for you, or do you want to bring in youth for the likes of George Bell and kind of, I guess, give him a bit of game time to kind of experience the kind of international stage, and then later on in his career, he'll have the ability to kind of just like go into it without being kind of hesitated really at all. So it's a tough decision here, but yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Riccatelli. I think for me, like I'm not, Kurt Eklund's had a good year, but and George Bell as well. But I just think Riccatelli's been the standout out of all of them, and he's had a good season for the Blues. And yeah, he knows how to score tries on a set piece. Like that's what the Blues have done so well this year, is scoring tries off the set piece, particularly the lineouts. So yeah, he's a big part of that. So yeah, he'll be my third choice hooker there. In terms of locks, I mean, there's a lot of locks that go from. There's Tupou Vaa'i, there's Scott Barrett, there's Sam Derry. There's Lachlan McWannell, there's Isaiah Wakalawea, there's Quinton Strange, Caleb Delaney, Al Coy. I mean, geez, there's a ton of them to choose from here, guys. In terms of the guarantees, you got to go with Scott Barrett and Tupou Vaa'i. I mean, those two are just guarantees off the back. I mean, again, Scott Barrett has been a bit inconsistent this year due to injuries as well as yellow cards and all that. So his discipline hasn't been the best, which is kind of usual for him. But at the same time, he's still a world-class lock on his day. And yeah, I mean, again, I think he will be available in time for this July test. I haven't seen anything that has said he's not going to be available, so I'm going to go with him in this squad. And then yeah, Tupou Vaa'i, I think he's arguably been the best lock in terms of this competition. I mean, I would have said that probably for Patrick Tuipulotu, but of course he is now injured, so I can't really have him in my thinking for the squad. But yeah, Tupou Vaa'i has been very impressive for the Chiefs. It has probably been the best lock, you could say, in terms of the playoffs. So yeah, you got to go with him. He's just a good lock overall. And again, he's been part of that. He was part of the World Cup team as well. So yeah, he's experienced. So that's just good to have. And again, in terms of the other locks here, this is where it gets fascinating because I got to choose a bit of I guess uncapped players here really in terms of these next positions here. I mean, I could go with the likes of Quinton Strange or Isaiah Wakalawea. I mean, those two are good. I think Isaiah Wakalawea, just his discipline lets him down. I mean, a lot more than Scott Barrett. And I just don't want to have two people who kind of are known to getting a card or two. So I just can't consider him. I mean, Caleb Delaney, I actually had in my original squad, but he just hasn't been playing games recently for the Hurricanes. I don't know if it's an injury or just a not selection. I don't know what's happening there, but yeah, I just don't think I consider him anymore for the All Blacks. So for me, I'm kind of looking between Quinton Strange, Sam Derry, and Lachlan McWannell. And out of the three, I think Sam Derry is the probable choice out of the three, just because he's been pretty good for the Blues throughout this year. He played in that semifinal against the Brumbies and had a good game, got a try on his name, try to the sheet as well. So yeah, I think you just got to go with him. In terms of the final lock, I mean, it's tough here, guys, because like I said, I'm really kind of flickering between Lachlan McWannell and Quinton Strange. And I'm not sure if Lachlan McWannell will be available for the final. It hasn't been announced yet, so we'll see. We'll have to wait and see if he does get selected. Then that could kind of propel his position to kind of get into this All Black side. But then Quinton Strange is just so reliable in what he gives you. So for that alone, I'm going to go with Quinton Strange. I just think he's just a reliable lock, does the job in and out. So yeah, that's my locks right there. In terms of loose forwards, there's a lot to go by here. There's the likes of Ethan Blackadder. There's Sampine Finau. There's Luke Jacobson. There's Sam Kane, Dalton Papali'i, Peter Lakai, Tom Christie, Artis Sevilla, Hoskins Tutu, Brandon USA, Christian Leo Willie, and Wallace Titi. So yeah, a lot of players to choose from here. I mean, off the back, like the guarantees is of course Artis Sevilla. Like he definitely gets in. He's like the number one sure thing. I would then say Hoskins Tutu. I mean, he's been the best kind of forward in Super B this year. He has 12 tries to his name. He's equaled the all-time record in terms of most tries for a forward, and he has the opportunity to break it in that final. So it'd be awesome if he can do that. But man, he definitely gets in, and yeah, I feel good that he's actually going to get in because I feel it was a bit unfortunate really for not to kind of miss out on that World Cup squad. But yeah, he's done enough this season to get in 100%. In terms of the other players, I mean, I think you got to go with Papa Lee. He's a very consistent player for the Blues, and just from a defensive standpoint, it's just on point every time he plays. And yeah, his ball carrying is pretty good as well. I mean, he just gives you everything in terms of what you want in his seven. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Papa Lee there. In terms of the other players, I mean, I need a 6. So the first 6 I'm going to choose is Simon Finau. He's been a solid player throughout this year for the Chiefs and has really stepped up actually in the playoffs. Like he's had 2 good games for the Chiefs in these playoffs. So I got to go with Simon Finau. He's just a solid player through and through. In terms of backup, I mean, I'm going to actually go with Ethan Blackadder here. I think he's a solid player because he can cover 6 and 7. Simon Papali actually can cover 6 as well because he's played there in the past for the All Blacks. But Blackadder, I like him a lot because yes, I know he's been injury prone throughout his career, but this year alone, I think he's definitely shown he has the capability of winning games, and that's what he did in against the Blues. I hate to say it, he won that game for the Crusaders. He was really good in that game. So I just feel like I can see Razor just selecting him, and yeah, he just gives you a lot of versatility, as I said. So yeah, he gets in. In terms of the final forward here, I mean, this is where it gets difficult because I feel like I already have 2. I mean, I essentially have 3 covers of 6 because Papali can play there and Ethan Blackadder and Simon Finau play there. I have 3 7 covers because I have Blackadder, Sevilla, and Papali. And then I only have 2 covers for the 8 in terms of Sevilla and Satutu. So I mean, for me, like I'm kind of looking. I'm not looking at Tom Christie, even though he's been good for the Crusaders in terms of from a tackling perspective. He's done well. That's not what's needed for me. Brandon Wesley's had a really good year. Same with Christian Willie. I mean, he hasn't had as good of a year, I'd say, Christian Willie. He was better last year. He just hasn't had the minutes this year to kind of really consider him, in my opinion. So he's not really in my thinking. I mean, Sam Cane. I mean, if they are to stick with Sam Cane, I mean, man, I don't think it's the right move. I think it's time to start in a new cycle. And I think with that, Razor just has to make the tough decision here and just not choose Sam Cane. Even though, yes, he wants to kind of wants to have, 5 more caps to have this become a century, get the century of caps, of course. But yeah, I just think you have to make the tough call and just not select him. So that's what I would do. There is Luke Jacobson, who's been very impressive for the Chiefs throughout this year. Again, he can cover all 3 positions actually with the 6, 7, and 8. So he gives you a bit of versatility, which is good to have. Yeah, I think for me, even Brandon USA, man, he's been good. And same with Peter Lackey. I think I'm not going to consider Sam Cane, not going to consider Tom Christie, not going to consider Christian Leo Willie. There is Wallace Titi, who's been awesome within the playoffs and has recently picked up in a lot of form, actually, the more I think about it. Like, he's been really good for the Chiefs. He's probably been a standout player in both the quarterfinals and semifinal matchups. So, yeah, it's tough. It's tough, this. I think because I have too many 7s here, I'm not going to go with Peter Lackey, which is crazy to say because he's been so good for the Hurricanes this year, but I'm not going to go with him. Brandon USA, do I go with Brandon USA? I don't think it's ready. I don't think it's time yet. I think I need to see one more season from him, and then I can kind of consider him a lot more. So yeah, really now it's between Luke Jacobson and Wallace Titi from the Chiefs. Jacobson does cover all 3, but do I need that though? I don't know. No, I don't think I need that. I'm actually gonna go with. I'm gonna give the Bolter selection here. I'm gonna give Wallace Titi the selection. I've just been really impressed by him throughout the last few games, guys, and particularly what he's done in the past month or so. So yeah, I'm gonna give him the jersey there, give him the All Blacks jersey. In terms of the scrum halves, this is where it gets a bit more difficult because there's a lot of options here in terms of Teach Perinar. There's Finley Christie, there's Cortez Latimer, Flafa Katava, and Noah Holtman and Funaki there. So there's 6 options to choose from. I think the guaranteed is Cortez Latimer. Like, he has been awesome for the Chiefs this year, and he's the youth kind of selection there. And I always like to choose like one young player within every kind of position, and he's just awesome. He's just an awesome player to go with, and he's been awesome for the Chiefs this year, like a try score machine. And yeah, he's proved that throughout the playoffs as well. So yeah, he definitely gets in. In terms of the other scrum halves, I mean, I think Funaki has done well for this year for the Blues because he's had to cover for Finley Christie for the majority of it. But again, I just don't think it's time yet for him to kind of make it to the All Blacks. Like maybe he can go into the All Blacks XV side. I think that would be a good step up for him. So maybe that's where he goes. And similar towards Noah Hopin as well. I think he's kind of in the similar boat towards Funaki, where I think he just needs one more year under his belt to kind of be considered a lot more. So I'd probably put him in the XV side as well. But still, has had a good year for the Crusaders. Then yeah, there's TJ. I mean, TJ, I think you just have to go with just because he's been really good for the Hurricanes when needed. I mean, with Cameron Roigard, of course, out, it's meant that he's had to step up a lot more, and I think he's done that. I think he's really done that. Again, you can say his his temperament can maybe let him down at times, but still, he's a world-class player on his day. So I'm going to go with TJ there. And then, yeah, in terms of the final position, Flavio Catala, man, he's awesome because he's so different compared to the other scrum halves because he's more of a try-assistant scrum half than a try-scoring scrum half, similar towards what Aaron Smith was really for the All Blacks. So, yeah, jeez. But do I think he's ready right now, or do I think he needs one more season? I think he needs one more season, to be frank. I think he needs one more season because this is, again, you have to remember, it was his first season kind of in the number 9 jersey fully for the Highlanders. So I just think he needs one more season under his belt, and then I think he would get in. I think he would get in. But for now, I'm going to stick with Finley Christie. I just think Finley Christie, I mean, I've been really impressed by him, by what he's done since he's come back from injury. I mean, he's played, the past few games in the playoffs as well as a few more games before then. And yeah, man, every game he's played, he's just done the job for the Blues, and he's just been so clinical in the way he finds his passes. Like, that's the great thing about Finley Christie, is that he's very quick with his passing, and he never lets you down on that aspect. And yeah, he knows where to find that pass. So that's what you want within the scrum half. So yeah, that's the three I'm going with. In terms of the fly halves, I mean, this is probably the easiest selection because there's only technically 3 with McKenzie, Bowden Barrett, and Britt Cameron. And yeah, look, Brent Cameron's had a good year for the Hurricanes, but just not to the level of what you expect in terms of an All Blacks. So I think just McKenzie and Bowden Barrett get in automatically, and yeah, that's without a doubt, really. Those two there's no argument against them, really. I mean, McKenzie's been sensational for the Chiefs this year, and Bowden Barrett just gives you that cover within that 10 and 15, and he is a world-class player. Like, Bowden is Bowden Barrett. It's like, come on. So in terms of the centers, I mean, there's a lot of players to choose from. You know, there's Jordy Barrett, there's David Havili, there's Quinn Tupaya, there's Das McLeod, Levi Mua, there's Rick Lawani, Billy Proctor, and geez, there's a lot of players to go through here. In terms of the guarantees, you just got to go with Jordy Barrett. I mean, he's just been sensational for the Hurricanes this year. He's done everything that you can ask from him. You know, he's been really good from the kicking tee as well. And yeah, he's been really solid for them. And again, his combination with Billy Proctor has worked out pretty well this year. And for that reason alone, I think Billy Proctor is another player that will get into this side. And what I believe he should get in, just because that combination, like I said, has been really good to watch and it's kind of tore teams apart, really. So those two get in 100%. In terms of the other two, gosh, it's a bit more difficult here because I don't think Dallas McLeod or Levi Mua have done enough to get into the All Blacks, so I'm just not going to consider those two. I mean, Quinn Tupaya has been pretty good for the Chiefs this year. Again, you know, he had that injury in the past, which is kind of that made him not available for selection for the World Cup. But he's had a good season actually for the Chiefs this year, and he's been very solid for them. I mean, Havili, I have a bad feeling, but maybe a funny feeling, you could say, that that Razor may go of him. Because I know that he was testing Havili out in that 10 spot to see if he can work there. Because I think he also recognizes that there's better options in terms of the 12 and 13 than Havili. So he's trying to think of, like, how can I fit Havili into this side? Because, again, Havili can cover, 10, 12, 13, and 15. So he's a very versatile player, which is good to have. But do you need versatility? Do you need a versatile player like him? Or do you need just someone who's good at their position? And that's kind of what Quinn Tupaya is in terms of that 12, and similar towards what Reiko is in terms of that 13. Because again, yes, he can play 11, but he hasn't played there in a while. 13 is really now his position. And again, with Reiko, he's had a good. I mean, he hasn't had the best of years because of the injuries the injury he had, but also like the head concussions that kind of has made him kind of like be inconsistent in terms of his playing time. But But on his day, he's still considered a world-class player. So for that alone, I will stick with Rick Lalani. In terms of the final pick, I think you just got to go Antonio Brown. I think Antonio Brown is he's just a solid player through and through for the Chiefs, and he's in a really good year for them actually. I mean, you can make the case actually it's been his best year for the Chiefs. So yeah, I'm going to put Antonio Brown in there, and again, he can cover that 12 spot as well. So yeah, he can cover 12 and 13. So it gives you a bit of kind of versatility within that center spot, which is good to have. But yeah, in terms of the final spots with wingers/fullbacks. I mean, there's a lot of players to go through. There's Caleb Clark, there's Nana Satiro, there's Riasi, there's Martalea, Moninawa, there's Sarah Reese, Sean Stevenson, Ruben Love, Jacob Ratuvuki Nemkins, Shefe Naki, and Stephen Parafeta. So a lot of players to go by here, but I think the guarantees are Caleb Clark, Moninawa, Sever Reese. I think those three get in 100%. Like all three of them have had fantastic seasons for their clubs. Sever Reese getting 12 tries to his name. You had Caleb Clark doing pretty well for the Blues. I mean, he wins like every ball from the kickoff. It's like incredible. But yes, he's also got a lot of tries to his name. And Semimoni Inawa, like he's stepped up to another level in terms of these playoffs. Like that kind of try he set up for a semi final in that semi-final. Like man, that was like some goose steps in there, kind of like getting past a few players. Like it was nasty stuff. So those three get in my opinion. Martellet is an interesting one because I don't think he's had as good of a year compared to these three and in terms of what he's done in previous seasons, but he is still incredible. Like he's still incredible. And in terms of those 14s, like there's not a lot of other players who can cover 14 because you have a Money Nawa and Sarah Reese who can cover that 14 spot. So at least there's two covers there off the back. I mean, you have Stevenson who can cover that 14 spot as well if I were to select him. There's Ruben Love. Yeah, the rest are more like just 15s really. I mean, Shane Finaki can actually play 13 as well, but I don't need a 13. Yeah, so I'm not gonna consider Shane Finaki. Yeah, Jacob Ratuvuki Nemkins. I just think I need to see one more season from him to kind of consider him a lot more. So yeah, I'm not gonna consider him now. Yeah, you know what? I think I will go Martellet. I just think like he is the best option there when you think about it. But I do believe I can select one more player here, guys. So and I think I got to go with a 15 here. So it's really between Stevenson, Ruben Love, and Stephen Parafeta for me. And out of the three, I mean, Ruben Love just hasn't stepped up within the playoffs. I mean, he wasn't available for the quarterfinal, and he didn't have the best of games in that semifinal. And then of course, Sean Stevenson, he played pretty well in that. Well, did he? Yeah, he played pretty well in that quarterfinal, but wasn't available for the semi. So it's one of those where like both players haven't been available in kind of like the times you need them. And I think Parafeta has been the best player out of all the three of them by playing in both quarterfinal and semi. And again, but again, the one thing against him is though he was injured for a long period of time during the middle of the season. So yeah, gosh, it's tough, guys. But if I had to choose, I think I'd probably go with Stephen Parafeta because again, it gives you another option to kind of cover that 10 spot as well. And he can play 15. So yeah, I like that. But yeah, there you go. That is my 32-man squad there for the All Blacks. Let me know in the comments, guys, what your thoughts on it. I think it's pretty good. But like I said, like the video, guys. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And yeah, see you guys next time.